Hey everyone, today's guest is singer, songwriter, and guitarist Jon Snodgrass from the Fort Collins, Colorado band Drag the River. Together, we break down the writing, recording, and inspiration behind their fan-favorite song, Me and Joe Drove Out to California. Jon is one of the most prolific songwriters I've ever come across, and when he's not writing, he's either recording or out on the road touring. Jon is what I call a purist, someone who is turned on by a song's performance, understanding that it doesn't have to be the perfect take, as long as the spirit and sentiment come across in the recording. Like I said, Jon is insanely prolific, so much that he couldn't even tell me when this track was recorded. Let's just say he's logged in a few studio hours. And songwriting inspiration sometimes comes in the form of a sequel, which Jon recorded a song called exactly that, The Sequel, that is a continuation of Me and Joe Drove Out to California, that we'll touch on a little later in the episode. So for all this and a cross-country trip in a moving truck full of women's clothes, don't you dare go anywhere.
Hey, have you heard? Krista makes a podcast. Hey, have you heard? Krista makes a podcast. Hey, have you heard? Krista makes a podcast. Hey, have you heard? Krista makes a podcast.
You know, I was trying to think of a way here to introduce you to the listeners that may be unfamiliar with you. And I'll just say, I've used this term before many times on my show. You are what I call a lifer. You live on the road. That's what you've been doing for the last almost 30 years of your life. Of course, I remember you from Armchair Martian in the early 90s. And in 1996, you started recording songs with Chad Price, of course, from All, under the name Drag the River. And since then, you put out just tons of stuff, music with bands. You've done stuff as a solo artist, a member of the Scorpios. You've collaborated with literally everybody: Hagfish, Descendants, Stephen Egerton, Joey Cape, Lagwagon, Bad Astronaut, Corey Brannon, Frank Turner. I could go on and on and on, but it's just really cool to be sitting here talking to you today. I'm glad you're able to sit in.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. It makes me happy. I've heard some of your shows, and I got to be honest, they're great. And I've started listening to podcasts kind of a while ago. Well, actually, that Frank Turner comment, I was going to make a podcast like the Buddies thing. That was going to be a podcast. That was my original idea, like writing either a song or a record with a songwriter guy. Like you would have been on it at some point, right? But this was in 2010, I guess. And I just thought that there were too many podcasts. So I didn't want to be a Johnny-come-lately guy. And now I'm like, fuck.
Right.
But I have a new podcast. But anyways, and I do this. I get sidetracked. What was I supposed to say before that?
No, I was just basically saying that I called you a lifer. You've been with everybody, and it's cool. I would consider you for lack of a better term, like a singer-songwriter. And I want you to take us back. That's the one thing about this track, Me and Joe Drove Out to California from Drag the River, which your fans, and I know yourself, you just shortened to Joe California. But when was the song recorded? Do you recall?
Shit. That is on It's Crazy. Drag the River, It's Crazy. And I don't know. I know that when I first recorded it, because like we all do, like I just record music all the time, and that was one of the many kind of just a throwaway song. I thought it was. I just thought it was too catchy and sort of too good.
Right?
You know what I mean? Like if something's too catchy, I'm like, Now I don't really care. Like I like making people happy. I don't need everything to sound like it's Chinese jazz. You know what I mean?
I hear that probably 8 out of 10 times in this show. The song that we end up picking, the fan favorite, is always the one the artist, or a lot of the times the one the artist is like, hey, this is kind of the throwaway song. We didn't really put too much stock into this one, and now it's bubbled to the top and become a fan favorite. It's funny how that happens.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I'm saying to the point that the band never even heard it. I just needed something, I don't know how Chad heard it, or... Oh, I'd send him like a demo of something maybe. I'm not quite sure. So don't quote me on it, and don't, put it on air. No, seriously. But I think it might have been on something, and he's like, oh, that one's pretty cool. I'm like, oh, yeah, Okay. Is it? All right. Didn't sound too much like John Cougar Mellencamp, you know? I mean, because we'll get to it, but I do. Oh, no, Springsteen. Yeah. I reference Springsteen. We'll get to that later, I bet.
Yeah, for sure. And so roughly what year? Do you recall?
Shit, I don't know. I know it's not on. So I know it's not on Spotify yet because this is what I was trying to say. Yeah, because Drag the River. So we missed our 20-year anniversary just because we counted wrong. So we're like, fuck it. Maybe we'll do something when we're 25, and then maybe we've turned 25. I don't know. But I think in 2025, we're going to finally put all those songs up in the Spotify world. Like, we haven't done it yet. So it's like, it's not even an easy thing to find. You know?
No, it was, and this was a little bit difficult researching the song. There's tons of lyric pages out there with just horribly, just wrong lyrics on this. So I had to do some homework myself, really get in there and listen.
Sometimes those are better.
Yeah,
and then you're those, right. And you're like, let's just do that. I like that.
What's kind of cool about it is I do have some questions about the lyrics that we'll get to in a bit. But the reason I asked about the year of recording, do you recall if this was recorded on to tape or to Pro Tools?
Tape.
Okay.
Always.
That's what I figured with you guys. I figured you're a little more purist in that respect. And,
oh yeah.
I'll tell you what I love about this recording. And I told this to Corey too. It seems like, a lot of guys that come from the world you're in, there's a looseness to this. It feels like a real band. There's not a ton of overdubs and things flying in. And was this recorded live predominantly? Do you recall?
That song actually was. That might be mostly live. I mean, it's funny that you say that because I'm working on something right now, and I was talking to my friend who's helping me with it, and it's funny because he didn't want to like comp, like guitars, right, on something like because he's playing drums and bass, and he's like, I think maybe you could do that. I'm like, okay, but I use this Tascam here, which is like my old Tascams, which is they were just tape, and I just play songs top from the bottom, and and there's nothing wrong with any. Well, that's where a couple weird sounds come in. I know how to punch in, but I'll just keep on going. So sometimes I'll punch in, and that's where some of the really fun noise happens.
Right.
I'm giving away the tricks, but whatever. Not always, but sometimes that's where shit happens, and that was definitely live. But the guitars were always top to bottom. Is what I'm trying to get to, Yeah,
you can hear it in the performance. It sounds live and it sounds real. And the longer I do this, and I have to. That's why I don't edit my own vocals. I always make someone else edit them. I'll pick out every nuance. I just can't do it. There's things I hate about my voice. We all do. We have those things, right?
Of course.
When is it good enough for you? Is it the performance? Is it the feel? What makes you go, yeah, I'm ready to share this with the world?
Well, it's fun. Like I said, I'm finishing a thing right now with a person that doesn't want to comp any of my shit, right? So we kind of started.
And real quick, John, for the listeners, I want to say, John, when he says comp, he's talking about, hey, we played the guitar part on 3 different tracks, and now we're going to go through and figure out what we could consolidate together and Frankenstein a good take out of. And everybody does this, but those who I call purists, they like to keep it as your producer or your friend you're working on it with. It sounds like he just wants to do it like you guys did it without any editing.
Of course. And so basically I just send like 2 things that I think were pretty good, and if they came out, I would be happy with both of them. And then the same thing with guitars. I'll send like 3 things that's only going to be boiled down to 1, and there's one that's just fucking crazy, and then there's stuff where I'm actually trying not to lose the script, like go too far off the thing. Like same dude's like, well, you didn't play the riff. I'm like, yeah, but what about this? It goes the song makes this, it goes it's crazy sound.
Yeah.
And I love that shit, right? He's like, yeah, but no one knows what it was supposed to be before. I'm like, right. So to answer your question, yeah, I try to just send 1 thing if I can. But if I'm a little back, I don't know if it should go that way or this way, I'll send 2 things and I'm like, use this. And if there's anything bogus in there, then you can hear it on the other side and just pick it up from there.
Well, it definitely sounds lyrically here, like this is autobiographical or something that you went through. But is that most of your lyrics, would you say? Or do you ever just say, I'm gonna write a story about something and just jot it down on paper? Or where does the inspiration come from you as a writer?
Well, normally, I mean, I just I'm walking down the street and I just start singing into my phone, and then I get back home and it's done. That's kind of where things start. It's also easy to just sit down and write a new one at the time, Like,
man, I wish I could take a page out of that, and I really do, because I find myself more often than not these days laboring over songs.
See,
and I hate that.
Well,
I hate that because I just want to get back to that. Hey, here's the idea. That's what it is. That's what I feel. That's the emotion that came out. And you look back at your career, it's not just me, a lot of bands where their fans love the early stuff. And a lot of times it was just raw emotion that was coming out. It wasn't overthought and overblown.
Yeah, I just try not to be precious really about anything in life. It's short. We're all like, it's almost over, man. Right? Like,
yeah,
who cares? Just go for it. Try to enjoy your life. And if you can like somehow make someone else's life happy, make sure they're having like a good day, just common courtesy kind of shit, it actually comes back on you and you're having a good day too, So it's sort of selfish to say it. So I like to say it that way to make it sound sort of selfish so I don't sound like I'm full of shit. But I really mean that. It's really simple.
Yeah, it's a good philosophy. Well, I got to say, not just because you're a friend and you're sitting in front of me, but, and I told this to Corey too. I told this to Frank Turner. There's just some guys that, and you have this. John Moreland's another guy I've talked about on this show. They open their mouth and nobody taught you how to sing the way that you sing. You just have this grovelly thing to your voice and this character to it. It's got a little twang to it, and you can't learn that. It's special.
I actually have never talked about this, which I'm kind of stoked to be able to talk about this. I think it turns out it's my granddad. I sound like my granddad, right? And my granddad is country, right? Mm-hmm. And my cousins are country. And I speak, more like a Midwestern, dude, but sometimes some sounds sort of, it's in there. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
And I remember someone made a comment. And they're like, said something about like my fake oaky drawl. And I was like, you know what? Fuck you. I'm from Missouri. I'm from 40 miles away from Oklahoma, guy.
How dare you?
What do you mean? Like just thinking I'm from Colorado, which is fine. I mean, just shit. You just hit notes, and you're a singer. You're a great singer, by the way. It's true. I already get to be on your show, so I'm not buttering you up. But I don't know if you have this, but I have I always describe it as a ladder that's missing like a couple rungs, right? So I can hit a certain note and then it's just kind of feels a little fuzzy, but I can go above that note and strong as shit sometimes, right? It's
right.
It's crazy. And then, not being too precious about things and just singing and just letting it out. It just sounds like what it sounds. And I ain't trying to sound like anything. You know what I mean?
Right. No, I'm coming. And when I say that,
and I'm not saying that you're saying that I am. But
yeah,
I wanted to address that for a particular person.
I'm not saying that you're saying that I'm saying. No,
right.
but what I meant by it really was, if I were to try to emulate any of the singers I mentioned, it would come off as okay, he's trying to do an impersonation. It wouldn't come off as genuine,
Right.
There's a lot of guys that I could get up and karaoke their songs and make, oh man, that sounded really good. And it sounded like the artist. But, there's some people that just have that voice. You definitely have that voice. And John, I want to jump into the track now. It's 2 minutes and 44 seconds.
That's a long tune for me.
It is.
I mean, nowadays it is. I mean, I'm a 340 or a 220, Mm-hmm. It's getting even shorter now. I'm stoked. I'm just whittle that shit down.
Yeah, cutting all the fat off the bone.
There's too many songs. Okay, anyways, I'm listening now.
No, I was going to say, do you recall when you wrote this, was this the song? Was this the arrangement, the format? Was this the lyric, or did anything change?
Okay, so you know what? This is good. This will touch back on what we were kind of saying before. Yeah, things changed. The actual arrangement changed a lot, which is actually I wouldn't say it's sophisticated, but it's not just a regular...
Not at all.
...song, there's more to it. But it was written as just a rock blast. And yeah, I kept the riff, I think. Well, that changes too, yeah.
And did you guys record this yourself? I couldn't find any producer information.
I recorded this at... I'll get back to you on that.
Okay, perfect. It was recorded. We know that. We have a recorded version.
Made a lot of records. I don't know, man. Like,
Okay. No, and that's something else. And I kind of mentioned at the top when I said you have put out music with tons of bands solo, the discography is mind numbing. When I was trying to go through it, just you alone on your Wikipedia page, I was like, this is just insane. So yeah, you've recorded a lot and you just don't remember.
it's my fucking favorite thing to do. I still do it. Like like you should never talk about what you don't have. Like talk about things you're going to do until you're doing it, but I am doing it. Like over the pandemic time. I mean, I just put out a thing like, "Hey, who needs a song?" And I mean, I did like hundreds and hundreds, like every day, and it was so fun. I just had it was like my job, and I'm like, cool. I would wake up every day. Okay, I'm going to write a song for this guy. Cool. What does he like? He likes lizards. I like lizards too. All right, like I'm a lizard dude, like whatever,
That's
just making
really
shit
cool.
up. There was no lizard song, but there could be. But I've been doing it since sixth grade, going into seventh grade. Little Chad Rex, who's amazing. Yeah, he taught me how to play guitar, and we just made up. He was already doing it, but he had a little 2-track recorder, and we just made up fucking songs going into seventh grade, and it's kind of what I've done my whole life. I'm 50 years old. So however old you are when you're going into seventh grade, it's just kind of what I'm doing this bullshit the whole time. It's fucking fun. I love it.
As I said at the top, you're a lifer. And the intro here is 4 bars of an overdriven yet clean guitar that's slightly panned off left before we get into verse 1. Just off the top here, this guitar, it sounds a little out of tune.
Yeah.
But if it was pristinely in tune, it wouldn't feel like it feels. It's perfect for this track.
Yeah, no, I like to bend. That's kind of what I was saying before about sending the new stuff. Yeah, I like to bend the thing, Like I like to get as close to a jazz blue note as I can.
Yes.
In a regular type song, that people can consume,
It's the way that it moves you. And there's certain songs you write that you maybe don't want it to be like that. You want it to be perfectly in tune.
Oh,
and
certainly.
For this, it's exactly how it needs to be. Verse 1.
Me and John are out to California, bending up under the cover of night. Me and Daniel south of the state line, with my cousins on the 4th of July.
Again, you touched on it a moment ago. The arrangement of this song is very strange in a good way, and I want to, as we go through it here, I kind of want to see if I'm on the right page here with you with what I laid out. So verse 1 here, I'm going to read these lyrics, John, and have you break them down for us. Me and Joe drove out to California, opened it up under the cover of night. Me and Daniel south of the state line, with my cousins on the 4th of July. What's happening here?
So that rip, I kind of thought, and probably why it was a throwaway song is because I sort of thought it was too much like, Bruce Springsteen has a song called Darlington County.
Oh yeah, love that track.
So I heard that song a bunch on the 4th of July with my cousins when that record came out, right? So that's where that part comes from. Me and Joe drove out to California. Joe Young, who maybe you've met before.
I know Joe Young well, and I'm assuming is Daniel Bug?
Yes. So
okay.
So I'm kind of setting the idea of like, it's just one of those kinds of drives. You're with your bud and it's nighttime. It's under the cover of night. It's the best. You're listening to music, the fucking glow of the radio, coming in. And I was driving out with Joe to start with though, because we were, his wife at the time had gotten accepted to a school in San Diego that she was really stoked to go to. So we just packed up the car with all these ladies' clothes and 2 cats. there's more coming. Like, and we'll touch on these characters later in the song. It's amazing.
It already sounds like a party.
Yeah, but just me and Joe, bunch of ladies' clothes, 2 cats, fucking driving. You know that spot? Like, I kind of came up with this in that specific spot, and I know you know it. When you're leaving like Arizona, going to San Diego, and you're going across, and like the 10 turns into like the 8 or something like that, and it just dips down. And you go down like...
That's like, I think it's like Kingman, Arizona.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where you opened up under the cover of night. Me and Daniel. Like Me and Daniel south of the state line, because I have a song called, that I call Bug Country that me and Bug wrote, and we were having the same type of drive. So I'm already calling back to another song in this song.
Well, this next part, it only happens once, and to me this sounds like a chorus, but you can't call it the chorus. I saved the chorus for later in the song. I'm calling this the first pre-chorus in the song, but it's not before a chorus, and it's just an interlude between verse 1 and verse 2. And I'll get to these lyrics in a moment. Verse 1, the guitar breaks down there to just palm mutes for all 8 bars of that. And you know, when it broke down there, and I was listening to this part, and I listen to this song, you know, as I do when I do these episodes, a ton of times, John.
You like it?
Love it. The beginning's going, and then it breaks down in the verse. And I'm like, okay, this totally translates to you in some smoky bar with an acoustic guitar. You know, that it just, it's a full band, and the band kicks in after verse 1. But I love that when it broke down. I was like, okay, this is just totally John's world here. But I love how it breaks down. And then what I'm calling the pre-chorus, the stereo guitars kick in right here. The drums are in, the bass, and there's this guitar that is soloing through this next part that I want to talk about.
Did you lie? While we're riding, time's a ride home by. Way you wasting time if you just remember to ride.
I've been riding. Sometimes I'll ride all night. And then here's a lyric that I couldn't find. I found it 5 different times online. Is it ain't wasting time if you just remember it right?
That's right.
Okay, that's what I heard.
You know, touring stuff, I mean, all the shows aren't like the best. I think they're all the best. I actually like the shows where there's almost nobody there, right? So it's the song idea is just kind of about like just us getting to do what we get to do, traveling around and hoping you see a familiar face from last time or whatever, and that's great. Maybe they can't make it this time. That's all right. And even if it's a whatever kind of night, you know, like back then to touch on the Frank Turner thing, like Big Rock and Little Rock, I mean, like that's a little song where there weren't a ton of people there, but it was the best.
Sure.
Because we remembered it right, you know?
Yeah, well, and that's something that, you know, I wouldn't want there to be nobody there every night, but to your point, there's nothing better than having an ill-attended show, but the people that are there, all 30 or 40 of them, are going berserk.
Yeah.
They're going crazy.
Yeah. You can't really afford to do it, but I wish you could because it's fucking fun. Right? You know what I mean? Like, those shows are great.
Absolutely. Well, this guitar solo here, okay, and it's panned slightly left, and it kind of runs through the song. Do you recall what was on that guitar effects-wise? Because I swear there's points in this song where it sounds like a fiddle, like with the vibrato.
So I know, okay, so...
And I'm assuming there was no fiddle anywhere in this song. There's another part coming up where it's... I mean, I'm sitting here, again, probably listening to the song 30 times in the last 2 days going, gosh, that sounds like a fiddle. So I was wondering what you have on there, because there's this, like, vibrato that you get with a fiddle that you just really can't mimic on the guitar.
I should have probably listened to this song. But
I've heard that a lot on here.
Well, but I don't have the CD or the record anymore. It's a high dollar item, you know? And I gave them away, not to make myself sound real nice, but I've given them every copy I've had of this record, I've given to different people for like, you know, sadly, like there needs to, someone needs to raise money for some kind of a, you know,
sure.
thing. I'm like, cool. Like, I'm like, really? Someone gave you $200 for that? Ah, shit. Someone's gonna need the benefit concert for me, you know. But anyways, but that might answer. I told you I'd get back to you on where we recorded this. We actually recorded this. It is in Colorado, and the name of the town I'm going to have to get back to you. Oh, so it's outside of, I think, Sedalia or Salida, but there's a studio that's right on the edge of a national forest, and some people have recorded there, some cool people like, DeMakes recorded there. Only a couple, like not many people know about it, but it was built for when George Lucas was doing, the movie with Ron Howard, pre-Star Wars. It's like Happy Days, but gritty. It's called American Graffiti.
Oh, yes. Okay.
So they did the soundtrack for the movie there, and then they've done like a bunch of different stuff there, like a bunch of bands. My brain doesn't work like it used to, Chris, And
mine doesn't either.
And it turns out my mom was always like, "You're so smart. You're the smartest boy." And I'm like, "I'm not. I'm not the smartest." I'm not dumb, but I'm not the smart. Anyways, but some cool bands that I'll think of later, and maybe I'll send it to you, and you can add it somehow. But we recorded there, and the guy, there's all kinds of cool shit there. But Casey, that was Spacey Casey who did. We're both playing guitars on it, and if it sounds like the shit that would sound like a fiddle and just, he does a lot of that. I do a lot of the stuff that sounds like the way the song starts. Like you said, it's like, wow, and out of there. If it sounds like that, like just fucking noisy and just, that's me. But then if there's something that like sounds like that's gonna like beautiful, that's gonna be Casey, and it's amazing. Like he played pedal steel too,
Well, and there's a part in here where I'm like, was that pedal steel? Is that a lead guitar played up high? Is that a fiddle? What's going on?
Yeah, we did a bunch of shit like that. Like we would have a pedal steel playing clean, but then also run it through a fucking 15-watt amp, and just crank it, and it's just blowing out. I mean, just something to try and make the stuff sound interesting, Don't want to be boring.
That was really the only part of this track that stuck out to me of like, what is that exactly? The rest of it's kind of bare bones rock band, what you guys are going for. You got your dynamics, but that was the one part. What would you call this part though, John? What I'm calling a pre-chorus right here.
It's just the second part.
Second part. So it's not a verse. Okay. So we did verse 1. This is the second part. That's what we're going to go with. We also get the first harmonies in the song on the lines, "I've been riding." Yeah. And that sounds like you on the harmonies. Is that you with yourself? Or is that Chad?
It might be. It just sort of depends. Like normally Chad and I mean, he would always be singing with me, and vice versa. But every once in a while, especially when we're up there, maybe someone slept in. You never know. But a lot of people say that when they hear me and Chad singing on songs, they're not quite sure who's who, which is good.
Well, you both got that grovelly voice that they just mesh so well together.
Well, we're very different. I mean, he's an amazing singer, but we also sing in ways, we would just try to find where our parts, like where we could sing the best, thing. And like, I love just giving up what someone would think is the traditional lead vocal and vice versa, on different songs, and just see where shit lays. And it's just we're mixed pretty much. If someone sings the lead vocal or wrote the song and you think it's their song, I mean, it's mixed at 55-45, maybe, or 50-50. Like we're pretty close. And we just use mic technique and go off the microphone and try not to jump all over someone's lyrics, I mean, it's fun. Like, I like being a part of a thing. Like, I'm an underdog, and I like to be just part of the pack. You know what I mean? I never wanted to be a lead singer or a lead anything. I just like to make music, you know what I mean?
Like to get in there. Well,
yeah. So I don't know. It could have been me.
Don't break her heart. Don't break her heart.
We'll be back with a lot more with Jon Snodgrass after a few words from our sponsors.
Hey there, I am Johnny Christ from Avenged Sevenfold, and I've got a podcast called Drinks with Johnny you're going to want to check out. I sit down with a bunch of different people from all different walks of life, from professional wrestlers to actors, comedians, fighters, musicians, everything in between. I'm just looking to make some friends and have a good time doing it. So if that sounds like something you're into, go check out Drinks with Johnny, streaming everywhere now.
Do you like to laugh, geek out on music, and learn all about that band or artist who had that one song back in the day, but then seemed to fall off the face of the earth? If so, you need to subscribe to One Hit Thunder. Together with an array of interesting and hilarious guests, we do a weekly dive into one-hit wonders like Eiffel 65's Blue, Krayshawn's Gucci Gucci, EMF's Unbelievable, Delamitri's Roll to Me, Los Del Rio's Macarena, Musical Youth's Pass the Dutchie, and even Patrick Swayze's She's Like the Wind. So are you subscribed to One Hit Thunder or what? As Desiree would say, you gotta be. And as K7 would encourage, you gotta come, baby, come and join in on the fun of the One Hit Thunder podcast.
Come, baby, come, baby, baby, come, come. Come, baby, come, baby, baby, come. I believe she'll be leaving. Until then, I ain't leaving.
And now, back to the show.
We're going to jump into what I'm calling verse 2 now. Same instrumentation here. We got the stereo guitars, we got the drums, the bass, and we got that guitar panned off left, just kind of soloing around for the first part of verse 2. Then it goes into what I'm calling, I've never used this term before, John, on the show. I'm calling it a post-verse tag, because this verse is longer than verse 1.
Sacramento, we met up with Maria. We heard the band's got a rockin' band. Love the car out and I wanna see ya. Hope you notice we coming around here again. Wait again. Sick of what I'm in. Coming again. Wait again.
Sacramento, we met up with Maria. We heard that Bears got a rockin' band. Love to call, 'cause I really want to see you. Hope you notice we ain't coming around here again and again. Sick of what I'm in, coming again and again. And what I'm calling that tag is when you say here again and again, sick of what I'm in, coming again and again, that last part, it just kind of is a little post-verse there. Again, as I said, same instrumentation here. You got that guitar soloing, except on the post-verse tag here, that guitar does drop out. And how did you determine that when you're in recording this? Like, hey, the guitar solo stops here. We're not going to have it in the back of this verse.
Oh, probably just because I might have been like, hey, Casey, just fucking, let's like take a rest for a second. Mm-hmm. You know?
Well, when you go to mix, do you ever like just say, hey, we're going to take this part out here too?
Oh, of course, you know, but also a lot of that stuff, you know, how you were saying about you don't want to hear your vocals and let people choose things.
Yeah.
I do the same thing with like mixing stuff. I like to just split and then I'll come back and then I like surprise me, you know, because, you know, if you're going to do anything by yourself, all by yourself, I mean, we all can, right? But who likes the sound of that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's way better whenever people help you out, right? I think never tell people what to do, you know, or how to do it. Just play with people that you know are going to rock, right? So anyways, like I said, I should have listened to this. Should I pull it up and listen to it real quick?
If you want, I don't think it's needed. It's funny. I always joke that, you know, I say, what, you don't, you know, drive around listening to yourself all the time? We as artists don't do that. We record something and we file it away. But
you hear it so much before it comes out, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, and then also I have to put it to bed and then listen to it one more time, you know?
Exactly. Well, we get harmonies on the first 3 lines, and we get a harmony on Sick of What I'm in that post-verse.
Not sick of what I'm in. That goes back to the idea, like there's some rough, I ain't sick of what I'm, like I think it goes like that. I mean, it might be a little ghosted, you know, but like, you know, it didn't come out because I was probably singing it like, when you're talking about the guitars and stuff, lots of times the scratch vocal or the lead, like if it's a little out of tune or whatever, whichever one sounds the most authentic.
I'm really glad you said that, John, because in the lyrics I found online, it says, I ain't sick of what I'm in. I'm like, he isn't saying that there. And we call these pickup notes sometimes. Sometimes we'll throw them away. And when I'm doing vocals, I'll have a throwaway word. And I always get called on it by my bass player. Roger will be recording me. He's like, you threw that away. You're not getting the word. You're not enunciating. And I'm like, yeah, but that's kind of how I'm feeling it, you know? So there is an I ain't there that you were trying to say.
Yeah, it's in there. It might be ghosty, and it didn't really fit in the notes of the song, but it's pretty important to, you know, the meaning of the song. You know what I mean?
When again, sick of what I'm
how do you decide where the harmonies go? Like, was this already kind of mapped out with either yourself or Chad, or you kind of get in there in the studio and go, hey, we should put something here?
Yeah, you just start singing. I mean, that's what I do with harmonies. I'll sing fucking every word top to bottom. And then if I'm working with someone I don't really know, I'm like, just so you know, I'm not going to be an asshole and sing on everything. Yeah. But when it's good, make a note of it. And then we'll just strip it away from there, you know?
There you go. Well, the next part is what I'm calling the chorus, okay? This is what would be a double chorus.
I can't wait to hear what you think is the chorus. Or how it goes. I'm so lost.
That guitar soloing comes back in here with the stereo guitars, with the drum and the bass. And this is the section in my notes, John, that I put, man, the vibrato here sounds just like a fiddle on that guitar. This part in particular, it's so cool how you were able to get that sound.
Why been you busy with my long lost friends? Thinking, wondering how you've been. Never want to say that part. The road and say hello. We've been singing on the sad old songs. Thinking, wondering how you've grown. Never want to say that part. The road and say hello. To come down, San Antonio.
I've been too busy with my long-lost friends, thinking, wondering how you've been. I never want to say that part. Off the road and say hello. We've been singing all the sad old songs, thinking, wondering how you've grown. Never want to say that part. Off the road and say hello. Drove on down to San Antone.
So come on down, San Antone. Come on. Yeah, I don't say, so come on down to San Antone. I say, so I'm basically saying, come on down. Like, it's pretty hokey kind of, but it's like, just come on down and say hello. Because you know how sometimes, I'm never trying to pressure people, you know, like, come and see my band. I'm like, I just want to see your face. And lots of times, you know, maybe Chris Sherry's got to go, he always sticks around, right? But somebody, you know, like Otis, you know, who wants to go see a bunch of shows in San Diego that night, just let's have lunch, man. And then, you know, I'll see you after we do our sound check. So I just want to see you, buds. Because it's true. Like, how fortunate are we? Like, we have fucking friends everywhere, you know? We just
that's awesome.
And it's really why I do this, you know? And it kind of goes against everything. Because I also, and I'm even more this way now, but like I have this whole like, no ego kind of a thing, which is hard to do when you need to promote your band, right? It embarrasses me to talk about myself. It always has. It embarrasses me to like I said, I just like being a part of a thing, you know? And I love going and just seeing people, seeing my friends, you know? But I have to pay for my vacation by going and playing music. And I love playing the music, you know what I mean? But it's, I just like being able to sustain and just keep going and doing the thing and seeing the people. And you're right, I am a real life lifer. That's a song that's on the first Scorpios record, you know, Lifer.
See you one more. I like her. I like her. I like her.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, the lifers were all those old country cats, you know, all those guys doing it and blazing the trail back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s that were out there night after night and living on the road. And I love the placement in the chorus of where, again, the harmonies are. On the first two lines and the back half of each line, you get a harmony on Long Lost Friends and on You've Been. You also get harmonies on Sad Old Songs and You've Grown. I love the line on the last line when you say San Antone. It kind of goes up there an octave. You get really aggressive with the vocal. And then we hit an 8-bar guitar solo. That guitar is still panned off left, same placement as the rest of the song. And the solo is over the verse progression. Do you recall, was the solo a one-take thing, or it sounds composed and put together, but it has this feeling of kind of off the cuff?
I remember it. Yeah, like Casey did have a very composed thing, and then I came in and composed a thing on the spot. Like, so again, when you the ratty guy, that's me. The thing that sounds like that you love, that sounds like a fiddle, that guy, that ain't me. And I can't do that. But when you go back, the old sad songs thing, because I also sing it, I mean, live, I punctuate it more now. At that time in our lives, we were playing a lot of shows with our friends in a band called Lucero. And so old sad songs, there's this song that I still to this day, that's a Lucero song that they had edited, but I play the long version of it. So we've been singing Ben's old sad songs.
Okay, so hold on here. Now it makes sense. Ben from Lucero, because that's the lyrics online. It says, we've been singing Ben's old sad songs, but I swear you say, we've been singing all the sad old songs. That's what I wrote down.
We've been singing them sad. I'm not really sure what's on the record, but the way I normally sing it, and it, unfortunately, if you like to hear me say Ben, you might have to just see it live because I might not have sang it that day that way.
It's funny because on this recording, I don't think you said Ben, but it makes sense. I know Ben from Lucero, so that lyric totally makes sense that that's how you sing it live. That's great.
It's how I sang it when I wrote it. I mean, there's probably another take on the tape, on the comp that says Ben. You know?
Well,
it just wasn't sang as good, you know? Like,
right on. Well, after that 8-bar guitar solo, we get into the bridge.
I'm surprised that you stayed all night. Wasting time is just fine. I've been waiting long. I've been waiting long. Wasting time is just fine.
I had to write out a bunch of lyrics here. I don't know if they're right or they're wrong. I could not find them online. It just stopped at some point. I'll tell you where it stops. But the lyric is, I'm surprised that you stayed all night. Wasting time is just fine. And then this is where I started writing them down. I don't know if this is right or not. I've been waiting long, wondering where I went wrong. Wasting time is just fine here.
Let's go back again. I got to sing it in my head for a second. What's the line before?
Well, it starts out, I'm surprised that you stayed all night.
You stayed all night, wasting time. It's just fine. I've been waving low. I've been waiting low. Yeah, that's a couple. Who knows? There's once again, there's a couple other comps in there. I sing that song different live too, you know? So don't be mad at me. I can't tell you.
I'm not mad at all. I love this. I'll tell you, this episode is rivaling the obituary episode. Okay, the death metalers from Florida, old buddies of mine. I couldn't find their lyrics online, and there's a reason why I couldn't find the lyrics to their song, because
they don't know what they are.
No, he was just grunting stuff in 1989 that he doesn't
right.
remember what he was grunting. So this is getting close to that territory now.
Yeah. I mean, if I could hear it, I could tell you what I said, but I don't know what I need to hear.
Maybe I should start telling my guests to listen to their songs before they jump on here, John. Maybe that's what I need to start doing.
I'm super sorry, but you know, this is like you said, I write a thing and then it's done, you know. And,
that's perfect.
And then I think things evolve. Like when people talk about recording, we're going to record from this date to this date. I always think everyone does shit different, but I'm like, well, I hope you're in the right mood to make a record that day. You know, like I like to make a record when I feel, you know, when it sounds like what I feel like, you know.
It's funny you mentioned that. I've had times over the years where fans will come up after the show and they'll be like, hey, the verse of, you know, X song, like, the second verse, why do you sing it different than the record? And I have no idea what they're talking about. And then at some point I'd be like, you know, what were they talking about? I'll go listen to the record and go, yeah, it's so removed what I'm doing now from what it was 20 years ago. You evolve. You're not the same person. And
things evolve. Like I often think about, I actually call it the B-52s, right? And I know you know what I'm about to say. And like that girl, I wonder, like, is it Kate Pearson or
yes?
And I just wonder if she's like not always feeling like Teddy Ruxpin. like always wanted the tin roof rusted. Like,
Yeah.
like, do you feel tin roof rusted every night? I mean, like that is the sound of like that came out in the studio, right? And like, God damn, it's an iconic thing, and got to sing that exactly the same way every night. Or maybe not, because I wouldn't, and that's why I'm not in a very popular band, probably. But I don't give the people what they want.
After we get out of this bridge, we get into another verse, and this verse is the first verse repeated again here. The first two lines are just guitar, and then the band comes in on the back half with that guitar soloing again, and then we get to an 8-bar outro guitar solo that goes into a ba-da-da-da-da, basically the band all hitting at once, and then there's some feedback and kind of like a guitar pedal going haywire that kind of just fades out here, and the song comes to an end.
Me and John are out to California, bending up under the cover at night. Look, me and Dan are south of the state line, with my cousins on the 4th of July.
That's probably my style right there. Starting it and ending it ugly.
What is it about this song, if you were to guess? Why is this one the fan favorite? Why does this have the most views online?
It does, doesn't it? Probably, right?
Yeah. What is it about this song, do you think? Because again, you thought it was kind of a throwaway. It was kind of just simple. It was too poppy.
Everybody loves a road trip. It's a road trip song.
Songs just kind of take on their own life with the fans.
Fuck yeah.
Once you release it, it's I've always said, and I've heard this said, it's no longer mine. Mm-hmm. I put it out there. If I'm willing to share it with the world, it no longer belongs to me in that sense. And people, you've seen it, especially, a lot of your songs tell stories. And that imagery that people live, and I know there's times that you've written songs, I've written songs, multiple people have, that they'll come up to you and say, for whatever it is, my mother passed away and this song hit me this way. And you're like, wow, this song has nothing to do with about anybody passing away. But that evokes that emotion within that person. That's the beauty and the magic of songwriting, right?
I agree. And that's why my publishing name is Vague, not Vegas. Because I would always try to, like the guy from Lucky Joe's, his nickname is Vegas, Joe. And he would always say that my songs were vague. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, sometimes they are, because I like people to just read into their own thing a little bit too. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like some things are very specific, obviously.
And sometimes when we write songs, we revisit them later. We've seen this with all the greats. I've seen it over the years where you'll pick up a line from this song, be like, wait a second, that character was in another song of the band, and you wrote a song solo under your name called The Sequel, which is equally an awesome song. And tell us about that a little bit. How did that play into this song?
Me and Joe, who drove out to California, we were sitting at Lucky Joe's. And this was, I don't know, a couple years ago maybe. And I was like, this will be cool. Let's write another road song. Let's write a sequel to it. Because he was living in Seattle. I'm like, cool, I'm going to play in Vancouver and Seattle. And like, I want to get on that ferry. And let's take the ferry. So I wrote a song from the future. So people were like, oh, fuck, that's cool. Write a song in the future. I'm like, you know what? It's a bad idea because plans change, right?
Yeah.
And I talk about going to Victoria Island, which I found out later. It's actually called Vancouver Island. We were going to play in Victoria, but I kept it Victoria Island because I think Victoria sounds prettier than Vancouver. But yeah, that was the idea.
Fly to Washington and then we'll take the boat to Victoria Island. Here we go, me and Joe again. If we don't give in, guess we just have to do a little swimming. Here we go again.
Here we go, me and Joe again. And if we don't get in, I guess we'll have to do a little swimming. So like we were just going to swim across, because anyone who knows me knows that I normally don't even wear shorts. I'm just wearing swimming pants just in case you get to go swimming, you know, like in case there's
I didn't know that about you.
Opportunity to swim. Yes. So yeah, it's just me and Joe getting back together and doing it. But well, if you go through this quick, then I'll point out the other parts, because I think it's pretty good.
Well, yeah, no. Basically, you talk about how this time we'll hire a driver.
Yes.
This time we'll bring the swimming fins.
Right.
And then Joe cues up "Holy Diver," and my listeners know that I'm a huge metalhead. That's a Ronnie James Dio's first
Absolutely.
solo album.
Yeah.
As we float across the border.
Yeah.
In wishful thinking.
Yeah. Well, so the wishful thinking. So that's when I ended up. I had to edit it a little bit, because Joe couldn't do this trip. So that's why it's like, Joe's out. I blame the Longfellows. Who's Brian Longfellow, who you probably know, right? You know,
Yes.
He worked at O&O forever and would mail things out from the Descendants, you know, stuff.
Well, yeah, and then of course it says "It's all right" in the lyric. Of course, all is capitalized there.
Yeah. It's all right. He's just moving back to Colorado, because he did. So Liv Longfellow, after we had made our plans, said, hey, you should move out here. And while you're figuring out what you're going to do for your next move in life. And she kind of fucked up my plans. So it's all right. He's just moving back to Colorado. So I say, I blame the Longfellows. But I used to say, I blame Liv Longfellow, but I didn't want to call her out too much, and that's too specific. But now live, I say, fuck Joe. Fuck all the Longfellows, which, if you know me, I love them so much. So that's just an inside joke. Like, I would never say that, you know? You know what I mean? I would never say fuck Joe.
Well, tell me about this last line here, how the song ends, because I'm wondering how it ends up going from Victoria Island. It says here, yes, we hope goes the way we hoped it go.
Yeah.
Either way, gonna see KJ Jansen, and if we don't get in, we'll just take the boat down to northern Australia.
Yeah, because I was talking to KJ and Chicks Dig It about, like, we need to go to Australia. So that's just what was in my head. Like, and if we don't get in, we'll just take the boat down to northern Australia.
If we don't get in, we'll just take the boat down to northern Australia.
It's a pretty long boat ride.
Very long.
Yes, yes.
But also the thing about KJ, because that's true. So earlier, I say something about, I'll just tag along with Corey Brannon. But either way, I should, what's the line?
Either way, I should confirm with him, because it turns out I miscalculated everything.
So that's in the rewrite, you know, because because Joe's not even going to be there, like the star of the show, right? I miscalculated that, right? So I'm like, fuck, I'll just, because me and Corey Brannon were playing shows. We were playing at the Sunset Tavern in Ballard in Seattle. And then the next day I was going to take the boat to Victoria Island. Turns out, the plans changed and I couldn't, the band Off With Their Heads were playing shows up there at the same time. So we didn't want to compete with their gigs. So I rerouted and I went back to the airport and I just flew straight to Calgary and I saw KJ. And that's where I picked up with KJ Jansen and played 3 shows with him over there. And I had 2 days off just to hang out with KJ instead of playing Vancouver and Vancouver Island.
That's awesome.
Right?
Well, yeah, for everybody out there, please take a listen to the sequel. It's an awesome, awesome song. And before we break, John, is there anything you'd like to leave the listeners with? What you have coming up in your world? What's going on?
I like to book shows around baseball games.
Oh, okay.
Around Colorado Rockies baseball games.
Nothing wrong with that.
So I'm going down and I'm going to play one show and then do vacation with my family. We save up all of our miles all year long and then take the whole family on vacation. And I'm going to play at the just a free show at the Yucca Tap Room. It's a Sunday, but you just look at the schedule. It's the day after the Rockies play Seattle on the Saturday. And the next day I'm going to play at the Yucca Tap Room. I originally, because Eddie Spaghetti, you know Eddie Spaghetti?
Yeah, from Super Suckers.
He likes baseball too, and I had told him about the way that I try to book shows. I just you know how it is. You get an offer for a cool thing, and you're stoked to do it, and then you think of what else you might do around that. What I do is every year when the schedule comes out, I put all the road games down, right? And then I look. So, for example, in April, my friend Oliver asked me to come and play in Texas for his thing. And I go, hang on a second, buddy. And I took a look and I'm like, please tell me it's like 21 or 19 or whatever, which it is. I'm like, he's like, why are you so excited? I'm like, it's because the Rockies are playing the Rangers, you know? So that's April. And then so March, April, and then May. Oh no, that's in May. I'm sorry. May is when I go there. But then in June, then I'll go to St. Louis with the rock band and I'll end up in Boston and I'll see a game at Fenway, you know? Nice. And, in July. I mean, it's just the same shit. You just look at my website.
See, kids, this is how you book a tour. You find a major league team, you know, sports team, and you follow them around and play gigs around it.
So the next record that I'm making, I wrote a song about it called Crunching the Numbers at the fest with, I like to say, but it's true, I'll say now, my 3 favorite people that ever played in a band called Hot Water Music are all named Chris. Okay? So 2 of the Chris's sang and played guitar on this song called Crunching the Numbers, crunching the baseball numbers. You know, and it's all about, I calculate the distance from the club to the stadium, right? So I'm telling you this story because what did you just say before that? I'm giving you the backstory. I do this a lot. I get lost trying to give too much backstory. Fuck. Shit. Whatever. I like baseball.
That's how we should end the episode right there. Boom.
Love you, bud.
I don't know what I did last night at all. 1 foot on the floor, other hand on the wall. Did you see me last evening?
I hope you all enjoyed that conversation with Jon Snodgrass, but don't go anywhere. We got lots more Chris DeMakes a Podcast coming right up after a few words from our sponsors.
Ever wonder what a punch from Elton John feels like?
Or how you'd cope with having turned down the chance to be in Nirvana?
Or what signal Keith Richards gives when he wants you to get the hell out of his hotel room?
Fans of Too Much Effing Perspective don't have to wonder, because they've heard these exact stories and a jillion others on our podcast. I'm Alex Hoffman, former tour manager for Radiohead.
And I'm musician and comedy writer Alan Keller. On the TMEP show, we get guests like Nancy Wilson from Heart, Jeremiah Freites from the Lumineers, and Modern Family's Julie Bowen to tell us things they may have only shared with their therapist, clergy, or a TMZ stringer.
So join us on Too Much Effing Perspective. That's EFFING Perspective. The only podcast you crank up to 11.
As we near the end of the show, here's a band you might not know.
Welcome to this week's Band You Might Not Know. If you'd like your band to be considered for Chris DeMakes a Podcast, all you have to do is email your best song via MP3 only and a short bio to bandyoumightnotknow@gmail.com. This week's featured artist is singer-songwriter Chris Mosey from Southern California. Chris combines acoustic sensibilities with pop melodies to create hook-heavy pop rock alt-country anthems. You can find Chris's music on all the streaming platforms. Here's a snippet of his song, All the Way.
Get enough, however far we want this to go. Oh, and I know that we'll make it our own. Oh, all the way, yeah, you got me thinking all the way. Yeah, you got me feeling all the way. Yeah, you got me looking all the way. Yeah, I see this going all the way.
The Wrap with Chris and Chris.
Well, Chris, that was a lot of fun. That was really funny. And one of the first things that I wanted to note from that episode that Jon said, I can't imagine not comping I don't know if I could live in a world where whatever I did, that's going to be the thing on the recording. I don't think I could deal with that.
These guys and the world they come from, I'll use the term again, it's a purist mentality. This is what came out of my body that landed on the tape, and that's what people are going to hear. And while I respect that immensely, I have to comp stuff. I would drive myself crazy trying to play something perfect, because to me, music isn't supposed to be perfect, but it's got to at least, I don't know, be presentable and sound decent to me, and that'd be difficult. I admire these guys that can do it, though.
We're all our own worst critics. I realize that. And Jon talked about not being too precious with your songs. And believe me, I've had this experience a lot with Punchline, where you get so into the weeds, especially when you're recording yourself,
right?
And you're producing yourself. You get into the weeds on recording a song. You get to the point where it takes so long to finish the song that you lose the passion for the song. And just in general, sometimes it is good to just bang it out, like get in the studio and do it, and not have it be this ongoing thing that goes on for months and months, because that seriously can turn into years. I don't know if you've ever had that experience, Chris, but it can.
Yeah, I mean, I have riffs in my voice memo on my phone from 10 years ago that I just don't know what to do with. In fact, I was just down rehearsing with the guys down in Florida, and I had this idea, and I basically just said, here's where I'm at with it. I don't know where to go with it. And I'm getting better with that too. It's like, that's okay to come in and go, I have a really cool fragment of an idea. Where can you guys take this?
Yeah, sometimes I got to remind myself and remind my bandmates that putting out music, that's what we're supposed to do. Like, you could sit there and try to make it the most perfect thing that you've ever heard in your life. You could do that for an entire lifetime on a song if you wanted to, but at a certain point you got to go, let's put this out, let's put it into the world, see if people like it, and then let's write another song and another album or whatever. And I think that is the point that Jon was getting at there, as being a person who releases a lot of music. I thought the story behind the song was funny. I liked imagining him with a car full of ladies' clothes and two cats in the car. I can't imagine what for a long drive with two cats. I mean, I've had to drive, to the vet or something with my cats, but even that is kind of a long drive. I can't imagine doing this really, really long drive with cats, and I thought it was fun to think about that. And I also love something that Jon does in his songs, which is call back to previous songs. And I wanted to ask you, Chris, have you done that in your songs? I was trying to think if Less Than Jake had done callbacks to other songs.
I was thinking about this not that long ago. I know we have. I want to say I thought of one, and I can't think of it now, but it'll probably come to me. And if it does, I'll throw it on the Facebook group.
We definitely did it in Punchline. There's this one riff from an early Punchline EP that goes da 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 da, and we've put that riff somewhere hidden on every album ever since, like for the past 20 years or so. It's somewhere on there.
You just reminded me, Chris. It's the guitar riff for Gainesville Rock City. We repurposed for the bridge part of a song called Soundtrack of Our Lives, which was on the In With the Out Crowd record. So in the bridge of that song, you hear ba-dum, 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 and that's a harken back to Gainesville Rock City.
It's always fun to do that.
Yep.
Reference yourself. Rip yourself off.
Yeah. I was thinking more of a lyrical reference, but I remember, no, this is a musical reference, but same idea. I loved Jon when he was talking about how they just, found this studio and all these people had recorded there, and it was the only time he recorded it. They went in and tracked the tune there, and then they're in another city and they'll go record a couple songs there, and that's why he can't remember. I've never really done that. I know a lot of bands that operate that way. They're like, oh, hey, we got a day off, we're in Minneapolis, let's look for a studio and go track.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I want to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think maybe we've planned ahead or something, and if we are going through somewhere and we have a couple days off, but that was all planned out. It was never like on a whim, like, hey, we're passing by this studio, let's go record there. I think that would be awesome. And Chris, I spent 15 minutes when you guys were talking about this studio in Colorado, Googling Colorado Studio American Graffiti. I was trying to find out the name of the studio and who recorded there. I could not find anything on it. So if anyone's listening out there and can help me figure this out, I would love to know. I think Jon had such a positive attitude about touring and playing shows and even being happy with the shows with low attendance, because it's easy to get spoiled, especially once you get a little taste of some good shows.
Exactly.
It's easy to get real spoiled.
Absolutely. Well, this episode was a lot of fun, and please check out our supporting cast at DeMakes.com if you'd like to be part of our VIP program, where you get extra bonus episodes for the price of a cup of coffee. It's cheap, it's fun, and please join our Facebook group as well, the Chris DeMakes a Podcast Facebook group. Tons of fun in there. And if you'd like a custom song or jingle for your business written by me, hit me up at chrisdemakes@gmail.com. I'd love to write you or that special someone a song. And I want to thank this week's guest, Jon Snodgrass, for sitting in with us, and we'll see you next week.
Hi, this is Chad Nicefield.
And this is Justin Press.
We're the host of Making Waves, the Shiprock podcast, a part of the Sound Talent Media Podcast Network. We're inviting you to sail away with us on an epic journey in musical enlightenment. Every week, we bring you only the best artists in rock music and discuss everything from the cruise to the stage to the saga of being a professional recording artist. We'll have lots of special guests along the way, so tune in every week.
Your stateroom is available every Monday morning, so welcome aboard.
What's up, everybody? I am Finn McKenty, host of the Punk Rock MBA podcast, part of the Sound Talent Media Podcast Network. My podcast is all about doing what you love for a living, and every week I sit down and talk to people who have done exactly that. For example, musicians like Tommy from Between the Buried and Me, Matt from Periphery, Lil Lotus and Shinigami, among many others, photographers, artists, designers, YouTubers like Glenn Fricker and Sarah Dici, and I unpack exactly how they got to where they are today with the goal of helping you do the same. So if that sounds cool, you can listen and subscribe at soundtalentmedia.com, and I'll see you there.